Hi, this is Andrew Antar of Tune.fm. We are a decentralized music streaming platform and music NFT marketplace where artists get the full value of their creativity. You're tuned into the Edge of NFT, where listeners get the full scoop on what's happening in Web3 to inspire their creativity. Keep listening.
Hey, Web3 curious listeners, stay tuned for today's episode to learn how today's guest is retuning the future of music with a very large strategic partner to fully empower its mission to get artists paid.
And why today's guest handcrafted violin from his parents is highly valued yet priceless at the same time.
Finally, how you can both join the Jam Club and perhaps become the special listener who will receive 1 million Jam and Alpha Group access.
Welcome to the Edge of NFT, the podcast that brings you the top 1% of Web3 today and what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts of the business side and also the human element of how Web3 is changing the way we interact with the things we love. This podcast is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers who are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next.
Welcome to the Edge of NFT, the podcast created by Jeff Kelly, Ethan Jenny, and Josh Krieger, featuring a variety of top-notch guests and other hosts like myself, Richard Carthon.
It's another production of the Edge of Company, a quickly growing media ecosystem empowering the pioneers of Web3 tech and culture and responsible for other groundbreaking endeavors like the Outer Edge LA Innovation Festival.
Today's sponsored episode features Andrew Antar of TuneFM, the platform that enables fans to support artists directly while discovering local music across the world. Andrew is a Web3 founder, technologist, designer, developer, investor, musician, and artist. Andrew holds a blockchain patent and created the first startup incubator at Brown University. He's the founder of TuneFM. TuneFM is revolutionizing the music industry with groundbreaking new decentralized music streaming platform and music NFT marketplace, TuneFM. When the music gets played, the artist gets paid. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's great to see you again. I know it's been a busy day for you. We'll get into that a little bit later in the program. But I was trying to reflect back. I think the last time we saw each other IRL was Outer Edge 2023. That was great to have you as a partner for that. And, looking forward to catching up on what's been happening since then.
Yeah, it was a great conference, made a lot of great connections, and we've been hard at work and busy ever since, and really excited for the announcement today and having this discussion about what we're doing, what we're building.
Yeah, us too, man. I wanted to start though by giving people a little bit more context on who you are, because obviously you've done a lot. You're definitely qualified in my mind as a polymath, but part of your sort of your DNA is in the creative field of being a musician and sort of artist. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that part of your journey?
Yeah. So ever since I was 4 years old, I've been a classically trained violinist. And so I've been in music virtually my whole life. I did a lot with that. I won some competitions, toured the world with some orchestras, and I went into college trying to start bands and work with other people. And I got electric violin, started doing jazz and rock and roll. And I even joined a klezmer band and did all kinds of cool stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I've always been into music. I've always been into technology as well. I taught myself how to code, and then I started the first startup accelerator, incubator, and fund at Brown. And then I've also always been into finance. I started a hedge fund, and I also was super early to crypto. So I started mining Bitcoin in my dorm room around 2010. And so I've been in and out of the crypto market ever since, and really put together all of my interests and passions into what this platform is, which is a combination of music, tech, finance, and crypto.
Cool. We'll get into that a little bit more. But you're also an artist, right?
Yeah, I'm also, besides musical artist, I'm a visual artist, oil painter, graphic design. I've done all kinds of things. So I've always considered myself an artist first, and always been aware of the plight of the artist and trying
Right
to
on.
help out artists.
Yeah, and with having that robust background and that affinity to artists, When did you get the idea for TuneFM? And being so artist driven, there's a lot of alignment with it. So figured we start there of when did you come up with this concept and start figuring out how to help all the different artists out there?
And what inspired it?
Yeah, it came in multiple stages. So when I was in college, I wanted to network with other artists and musicians, and nobody's like wearing a name tag like they do at a conference where it says what company they're part of and whether they're, a sponsor, or the technologist, or whatever. So the equivalent of like having a name tag that says I'm a violinist, I'm a guitar player, I'm a drummer, I'm a producer, and what I'm looking for. I'm looking for joining a band, just jamming, starting a band, these types of things. I'm looking for other opportunities. So I started this thing called Musicians at Brown, and essentially it was just a Google form. But the difference was, and it asked a lot of questions about what genres you play and all musical questions. But the difference was, I gave everyone a link to the master spreadsheet of all the answers. So, and it had a built-in chat function. So basically, hundreds and hundreds of students signed up, and they were networking with each other. It was sort of like a quick and dirty a social network, and people used it to put bands together and find musicians for productions like plays, and it became sort of part of the cultural zeitgeist where I was in college. And that was the sort of initial seeds of the idea of creating an artist-centric social network. At the time, the Facebook movie had come out, and social networks were really blowing up. But also, I wanted to find a way to help artists get paid and really solve the problem that the music industry has. And that part of it came later. My brother actually had a similar idea of selling music directly to fans, because he was producing beats at Penn Studios and working with local rappers. And basically, he wanted to find a way for these artists to distribute their music directly to their fans and just get paid directly, because there's no actual way to upload to, at the time, iTunes. So we kicked around a lot of ideas, and we decided to join forces. And we originally started with a sort of fiat-based system, but that quickly didn't really work out because you can't do micropayments with fiat. You can't buy a 20-cent song or less with a credit card, because the fees are 30 cents and 3%. And so I thought there must be a way with crypto. And at the time, Ethereum and Bitcoin were out there, but the problem was the fees were even higher than Visa. So it was like $15, $10 to send a token. So that wasn't going to work, but I knew that there would be some sort of crypto solution that would work in the future. And so fast forward to around 2017, 2018, during one of the big crypto run-ups, I became aware of a technology called Hashgraph before it launched publicly. And I did a lot of research for months and talked to members of the team and dove into the white paper. It was 80 pages. And they said that they'll be launching a public ledger very soon. And that became Hyera. So Hyera Hashgraph, the public distributed ledger technology. And it's sort of a next generation of the blockchain, where it's technically not even a blockchain. It's a distributed ledger technology, which is, from its core architecture, way faster, way more efficient, and ultimately way cheaper to use. So you can do actual micropayments of a fraction of a penny, and your fees are going to be less than a thousandth of a penny. So that seemed extremely attractive to me. And I finally, like, the light bulb went off that this is the technology I've been waiting for, to be able to realize this vision. And of course, Spotify was already big then. And so I wanted to find a way to solve the problem that Spotify wasn't solving, which is they're paying artists peanuts, next to nothing, 0.04 cents per stream. It's going to the rights holder, and the artist gets less than 10% of that. And even Snoop Dogg did something recently where he has over 1 billion streams, and he made like 40 grand, which for him is nothing, but for the vast majority, 99% of artists, they make, less than $100 or less than $10, and they can't even break minimum wage with millions and millions of streams. So clearly, like, there's something wrong with the business model there, and there's not enough money to be spread around, or allows too many intermediaries taking huge chunks of money from the artist. And so I wanted to create sort of an open network where any artist can join and get paid directly from the listener in micropayments, and we can facilitate those transactions. And that was the sort of kernel of the idea for TuneFM, which we started building in 2019.
Very cool, man. And yeah, it's a real problem that has been discussed for a while. I've been at NAM, and we've seen the evolution. It started with Napster, and all the MP3s that were floating around college dorm rooms when I was a student, and we are now, and essentially we've slowly eroded at the inherent value of one of the most important creative professions globally, right? Like, what would the world be like without music? So how do we make sure these artists get paid? It is such a profound and important conversation to have. Let's dive in a little bit more about what TuneFM is all about. How is it different than other NFT music platforms? Because you guys aren't the only one out there, right? But there are some differentiators that we should sort of break down for folks so they understand. And then along those lines, I really want to understand more about how it's decentralized, because I'm not familiar with other platforms that have that particular like focus in its DNA. So yeah, help us understand all this a little bit more.
Yeah, so we're completely unique in the sense that we're the only ones actually paying artists for listening to music. There's no one else out there doing that, and it's only possible with our underlying Hyera technology, and it's all powered through the Jam token, which is running on Hyera natively. And it's not a smart contract token; it's actually a native layer 1 token that runs with the same code that HBAR, which is Hedera's native asset. And so that really enables us to have super high throughput, hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, super low fees, and the highest level of security, which is asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerant, or ABFT for short. And so the way we sort of differentiate in many ways, actually, the first is the streaming. So fundamentally, we're a streaming platform. We're not a distributor sending your music to Spotify. And you can actually come to TuneFM and listen to music directly. We're not doing services for tracking rights on other platforms. So a lot of this sort of NFT music stuff is looking into that, but also a lot of so-called music NFTs are really just music-related NFTs. So they're really JPEGs that have to do with the musical artist or have a musical theme, or they might be a token-gated JPEG access to some musical event. We're a true music NFT. So not only are we a streaming platform, but we're also a music NFT marketplace. And we're the only music NFT marketplace that's vertically integrated within a streaming platform. So you can actually enjoy the music NFTs where you buy them. And they're real music NFTs. They actually have music attached to them in the metadata. So we've sort of pioneered like a true music NFT platform where you can have multimedia. So you can have songs, you can have videos, you can have images, and multi-files. So you can put all of these into one NFT. You can put an entire album with the music video, with the credits and all of the sort of behind the scenes footage or graphics. You can also have unlockable perks attached to those NFTs. So we've actually built our own system where you have to actually be the NFT owner in order to essentially unlock these perks that come with it. That could be anything virtual, like access to some private community or a chat group with the artist, or something in person, like a backstage pass or VIP package, or some sort of direct access experience with the artist, like a FaceTime or meet and greet, or something really special. And then you can even stack those NFTs and experiences as tiers. So you could have multi-tier drops, which are essentially different assets. You can have a one-of-one with the most exclusive thing, like hang out, on a super yacht with Beyonce, for example. And that can go on auction. It could reach millions of dollars. Or you can have a lower tier for a fan club with, say, 500 members. And that's a fixed price at a few $100. And so it's very flexible in that sense. And you can even token gate the actual media. So you
Real
have to buy
quick,
the
so
NFT.
there's something I want to tap in on because you just gave us a ton, and I'm sure we're gonna like keep getting into more of these. But a couple of takeaways: the fact that Jam and how TuneFM has been built is as a layer one. A lot of people, as they're trying to understand some ecosystems for people already in crypto, might have thought it was a layer two built on top of Hedera, but in fact, it is a layer one. So that's a really cool distinction. And because of that, it's very powerful in being able to do a lot of the things that you listed. Most of the other competitors that you have out there aren't able to act in these interactions just from the simple just from the concept of it not being a layer one. So I think that's a really cool distinction. But another one is just in the fabric of how Jam is set up. And I kind of want to dive into this a little bit more. As earlier you brought up the fact that Snoop Dogg had 1 billion streams and only made about $40,000. And you were also diving into how transactions could become expensive depending on if you are on other platforms like Ethereum and Bitcoin, etc. But how are you using the Jam token to make micropayments directly to listeners and to the artists for all of the seconds of the music that's being played, since you are doing this as a service and as a streaming?
Yeah, so our motto is when the music gets played, the artist gets paid. And so that happens automatically for every second that the music is streamed. So if you say stream a 4-minute song, you'll get paid for that exact amount of time that your song was streamed, and that happens instantly. So when you sign up for TuneFM, we've made it very simple for non-crypto native, non-degen, just normal music fans to be able to sign up with sort of familiar Web2 UX. So just email and password. And we set up their non-custodial wallet for them. We airdrop them tokens so they can start playing music right away. And we do all the sophisticated Web3 tech under the hood, because really we're obfuscating the Web3 sort of aspect of it. The crypto aspect is really just an underlying sort of back end payments infrastructure. And so essentially, once I finish playing that song, we facilitate a micro payment directly from my wallet to the artist's wallet. And so whether I'm listening here in the US and the artist is in Indonesia or anywhere in the world or in Africa, that payment happens instantly. And then when they accumulate Jam, they can cash that out through our multiple fiat on-ramp and off-ramp partners to their local currency, whether that's euros or pounds or whatever local currency they have, because music is really universal language, and so we have a global currency for music, and we see Jam as the global reserve currency for music, and that's backed by music streaming, which is the main commodity, which we facilitate through micropayments. And so for the example of Snoop Dogg, where he was only earning 40,000, the equivalent amount of streams on our platform, he would earn over 4 million for that amount. And so we actually peg the amount to 1 penny per minute. And so the price of Jam won't affect how much you're getting paid on a sort of value level. And so there's always a Jam per minute streaming rate. So you always know how much Jam you're going to get paid per minute. And at the moment that the transaction is initiated, we use that exchange rate and pay you directly. So instead of getting less than 10% of 0.4 cents or 0.004 cents, you would actually get 4 cents for a 4-minute stream, which is way different. It's 100 times more.
That's very cool, man. And I think a lot of artists are going to be attracted to these capabilities. And you've got a pretty big vision here. At Edge of NFT, we like to also break cool news. And I know there's something you wanted to share on today's show that is fresh off the press around how you're going to execute this vision and what that sort of strategic announcement is to enable that possibility. So without further ado, what's the big news?
Yeah, so I'm excited to announce today, it's on CoinDesk and Decrypt and a bunch of others, that we just closed a $20 million funding round led by LDA Capital. It's a $12 billion private equity and venture capital firm that really believes in our vision for disrupting the music industry and revolutionizing how artists get paid. And so we're really excited about that. And there's a lot of things in our plans with regards to what we're doing with the funding, but I would say a good portion will go towards liquidity, a good portion will go towards development of new product, and a good portion will go towards marketing. We're really excited about what's in store for the next few months. We've actually just also finished putting the finishing touches on developing our mobile app. So we have an amazing iOS and Android app, as well as a desktop app. So you'll be able to get those native apps downloaded in whatever you're using. And so that's a key component. Obviously, for music streaming, it's got to be on a native mobile app. And then looking further out into the future, we're very interested in building a music festival metaverse. And there's actually a lot of technology challenges to that, but the overall vision is basically like Coachella, but in the metaverse. I won't say too much about that because that's sort of in the works.
Yeah, we'll have a chance to dive into sort of your roadmap a little bit more. But before we do that, let me say three letters, which is LFG. Congrats, man.
Thanks.
That's a great milestone, and you were able to achieve that in a tough economic market where I would say there's a fair bit of venture folks that moved on to other things, right? Like AI or health tech or biotech. Meanwhile, there's real potential here. And I think our industry has been overlooked due to the unfortunate sort of bad news, not just bad press, but unfortunate news, unscrupulous characters in the space, and meanwhile, there's people really building things, and it seems like what you've done here to get to this point is very meaningful. I know it's not easy to get a fund to write a check that large. So just want to congratulate you on that milestone.
Thank you. We actually did close the deal earlier in the fall, and it happened to be at the very bottom of the crypto market, the absolute bottom. We're one of the only survivors of crypto winter. Most of the sort of Web3 music things have actually gone defunct. I recently was looking at a bunch of them. And then there was some technical housekeeping stuff with regards to custody and whatnot that we couldn't announce it until today. But we finally got all that squared away before the new year. And now we're happy to announce finally today. And it just happens to be the exact same day that the SEC approved the Bitcoin ETFs. Just happened about an hour ago. The SEC site crashed. They had that sort of fake out yesterday where they were hacked, but it actually did happen today. And the whole recent run up is based on that happening. So really interesting, perfect timing for us to get this announcement out there. I think the bull run is in. It's going to be a very interesting year coming up, and we're really happy to be right there at the right time to benefit the most from this new bull run.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say impeccable timing. I mean, the fact that this news release happens today, and then, like you said, the Bitcoin ETF approval, it's an exciting time to start off 2024. And you, a moment ago, kind of laid out a ton of things that TuneFM's been working on, and one that I want to go back and spend a little bit more time on is the app. Most people consume music from their phones, and so of course, from your phone, you want to be able to access an app and not necessarily just be on a website to listen to your music. So, what's the vision for the app that you've created, and what can people expect to be able to do with it?
Yeah, so because we're the crazy ones who are trying to compete with the big boys like Spotify and Apple Music. At the end of the day, while we're fully aware that for the economics of our business model is super advantageous towards artists, we're a two-sided marketplace, so we need to be super advantageous to users and actually create a better experience than Spotify and Apple Music. So it's a super high bar to create something that's more compelling than Spotify, which has done a great job with their sort of consumer side of their offering, but a terrible job with the artist side of what they do and the economics of the business. And so we're solving both of those things. because it's the NFT marketplace and digital assets and music collectibles are vertically integrated in the streaming platform, we have things in the app that you literally can't get anywhere else that are not available on things like Spotify. So direct access to the artist, these cool experiences, all of the NFTs and everything that's not part of any other project out there. And we even have streaming royalties because it's vertically integrated and you can earn jam for the streaming in app. We've built it so that you can attach a percentage of the streaming in-app in TuneFM to an NFT. So if you buy an NFT, you can participate in the upside alongside that artist, along with all the other NFT holders, and basically own a piece of a song. And that's really exciting. And that's just a feature of what we're doing. There's a company called Royal that was trying to do a similar thing, and that was their main focus. But what they were doing is just giving you a tiny portion, like 0.1% of royalties coming from Spotify or Apple Music. So that's a key distinction because they're paying out 6 months to a year later just a couple pennies. So you could hardly buy a sandwich with that. And you would have to shell out a lot of money for a tiny slice of nothing. But our royalties start to get paid instantly. The moment you own the NFT, you'll start to see income streaming into your wallet. And so Royal has had a hard time with the SEC. They're claiming that it's not a security. We're very clear that we're taking a very safe path in which we're very aware that something that can earn passive income is a security. So if you sell an NFT that has streaming royalties attached to it, it's only available now for non-US KYC users. And so, but we also have a path, which I've cleared with multiple lawyers and partners at firms, to actually make it possible to legally sell these earning NFTs in the US, US customers. And I won't go into the details of how that legal structure works, but it would be a totally compliant way to do it as a security. And so we're really excited about that as well. And so that's just a taste of, the things that we're offering. There's other cool features like an unbelievable music visualizer. So if you've ever gone to like an EDM show, for example, and you see these amazing visuals, now you can have that with you on your phone while you're listening to music. There's no visualizer on Spotify or SoundCloud or Apple. If you remember all the way back to the days of Winamp on your Windows 95, they used to have cool visualizers and screensavers. And so we've taken that to the next level and brought that back where you can literally feel like you're at a show and have this sort of like, there's literally thousands of visualizers in there, but some are very psychedelic and some are very cool, and they sync up with the music. And that's just one example of the ways that we're putting power features that make the experience more enjoyable than Spotify.
Cool, man. Well, let's talk for a moment about Hyera, right? Some people may not even be using Hyera right now. They've been on our show. Have a lot of respect for that ecosystem. But why did you choose Hyera? And as you look at your roadmap, how important is interoperability across other layer ones, in the mix, or is Hyera sort of your bread and butter here into infinity?
Yeah, we're definitely Hyera first, Hyera native, Hyera here into infinity, as you'd say. It's purely a technological decision, it has nothing to do with hype or degens, and we're honestly not marketing or catering our product towards the Web3 crypto bro degen crowd. Obviously, we have a lot of those people who are interested in our product and joining, and people in the Hyera ecosystem who are part of our users. But ultimately, I see layer one decision the same way, and I've been in software development for well over a decade. The same way you would choose a backend service like AWS or Google Cloud or Oracle. Nobody really cares that the website you're using, or even knows what database or what deployment system they're using in the backend. And so I see payment rails really as a sort of backend technology decision. I think that the degen crypto bro crowd is a very niche audience. It takes a lot to onboard to a traditional Web3. You have to install MetaMask, and you have to download an exchange and buy an exchange and send your MetaMask, and then log in with the wallet, which is a new concept, and then maybe be able to purchase something. And that's a 40-minute onboarding process at minimum for anyone who's not familiar with that. We don't want to be anything like that. You don't need to know that it's on Hedera. We're not necessarily pushing that fact. You can think of jam tokens like credits that you would purchase with a credit card. So you sign with an email password and you buy jam with a credit card. Very simple. The same way if you go to a casino and you want to play poker, you want to play blackjack, you go to the cashier, you put down cash, you get your tokens or chips essentially. You play your game, and whatever amount you end up with, you go to the cashier and you cash out. And so that's the way we see it, more like a crypto jukebox, or you're buying jukebox tokens to be able to play music or buy NFTs. The reason we actually chose Hedera is because it's actually the only choice that we had in order to achieve our vision of micropayments. Compared to the alternatives, Hedera is by far the cheapest, but most importantly, it's by far the most secure. So it's the only public ledger that's achieved ABFT level security, which is the highest possible grade, and there's math proofs supporting it. And it's also has something that none of the other chains have, which is a distributed global governance council. So it's a very sort of democratic process, almost like a republic, where they have term limits, and each council member can vote on things, and these council members are not just random Joe Schmoes or miners or whoever like you have with Bitcoin, or members, like with Ethereum, you have the benevolent dictatorship of Vitalik, and with Bitcoin, you have the oligarchy of miners. But with Hedera, you have this democratic governance council, and these members are Fortune 100 corporations like Dell, IBM, Google, Boeing, LG, and some of the largest banks in the world, and the list goes on. There's 39 members.
Real quick, I do want to hop in and just say that I've spent a good amount of time just looking in the Hedera ecosystem, and it's thorough. Everyone's top class in what they're doing, and they're playing the long game. I talked to Dr. Lehman Bird about a couple of years ago, and just he was one of the very first people that I talked about within ecosystems that had a 10-year plan. A lot of these ecosystems, when they were talking, they're always they weren't necessarily looking at that kind of vision, but when they were building, they were trying to make sure that whatever they built would be here for the next decade, and then building for the next decade after that. So ecosystem is really awesome. But I want to kind of shift this really quickly as we wrap up this segment into talking about what is the future of TuneFM. So, what are some of the drops that are coming out this year that you can tease up and talk about, and what's left for the roadmap that you have?
Yeah. So just on your point about Hedera, it's a very professional, the sort of enterprise grade, and the vibe is very serious. And that's what went into why we wanted to choose them. And the other thing is the performance is way better than any other, where they say it's over 10,000 transactions per second, but it's been tested at over hundreds of thousands, and that's per shard. So it's infinitely scalable. And that's super important as we scale up moving into the future, because you need to be able to support millions of concurrent users, in which in a single session they could be triggering hundreds of transactions, and that's only possible with Hedera. And that brings me to what's coming for us. So massive scale. We want to onboard the next million users, the next 10 million users. And we have some really exciting drops coming up. We're working with some of the biggest celebrities and artists in the world. There's a long list of them, and there's a bunch that I can't talk about, but we are working with the Michael Jackson estate for some really cool exclusive NFTs, exclusive songs that have never been released before from Michael Jackson, and collaborations with big artists like Bruno Mars and The Weeknd and Justin Timberlake, and also working on a really cool experience with the Wu-Tang Clan as part of their new Las Vegas residency. And there's a lot more, but that's all I'll touch on for now.
That's all, man. That's all of those were jaw dropping. I mean, let's just spend a moment with the Michael Jackson estate. Like, God, that must have taken forever to get that off the ground. I mean, regardless if you're bringing in Web3, just being able to do anything with them is a ton of work. So that's a huge one. I mean, other big names like Bruno Mars and Wu-Tang Clan and everything else. It's TuneFM has an exciting year in front of it. Yeah, I just can't say enough about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you just dropped some bombs there, and we'll let them sort of do their thing without having to elaborate yet. Obviously, a lot more to talk about down the road, and just really excited, man, about what you're building. It's an honor to have you on the show, and we have a fun segment we want to transition to where we get to know you a little bit better. So let's go there. All right, it's time for Edge Quick Hitters. These are a fun, quick way to get to know you a little better. There are 10 questions, and we're looking for just a short, single, or few word response. So feel free to expand if you get the urge. You ready?
All right, go ahead.
All right, if you've listened to the show before, one of our 300 episodes, this should be a walk in the park. What is the first thing you remember ever purchasing in your life?
Oh, wow. First thing I've ever purchased, probably a piece of candy. I can't remember exactly, but you know, I was
Yeah,
probably a pretty young
we,
kid. Or maybe one of those,
man,
it's probably one of those gumball machines at the supermarket when I was like
there you go. Yeah,
token
our sugar
and you get
addictions.
your treats. So it's very analogous to what we're doing now.
See, that's why we asked the question. Our sugar addiction starts at a young age. What is the first thing you remember ever selling in your life?
So it's funny story. I started the first business I ever started when I was 13 was actually a savings and loan bank. In my middle school, I negotiated basically a permit to open up in the main lobby of our school, and I wrote up all these contracts for accounts and loans and deposits, and I was paying interest, and I was charging interest for loans and paying interest out for deposits, and I had all these spreadsheets. And I remember the first day that I opened, I had a line like probably 50 to 100 kids were lining up to open their accounts with me. And that was a really cool experience. That's sort of how I caught the bug
Nice,
for
man. Very
entrepreneurship
cool.
and being a founder.
Yeah, that's super entrepreneurial. Awesome job. What's the most recent thing you purchased?
So I recently purchased something on Poshmark for the first time, that sort of clothing marketplace. Talking to a friend of mine about these sort of old school khaki raincoats, those trench coats, and like London Fog like doesn't really sell them anymore. So I found like a vintage one that's my size. I haven't worn it yet, but I bought it. It was like $30, and these things are worth
Nice.
like 300
Hey,
bucks.
with climate change these days, I think we can anticipate more rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on the flip side of that, what is the most recent thing you've sold?
Well, technically, the most recent thing I sold is jam because I'm selling jam all the time, just algorithmically with our market makers. So I'd say jam is what has recently sold, probably during this
Probably.
podcast.
Probably after this podcast, and when someone's listening to this podcast, it's still selling. Andrew, what is your most prized possession?
I would say it is my violin. I was really lucky that when I was young, my parents invested in a very high quality handmade instrument that was made specifically for me. It took 6 months from a luthier who actually handmade all the instruments for a lot of the prominent concert masters and soloists, especially the Philadelphia Orchestra, where I'm from. It is appreciated in value significantly. I recently got it appraised, but I would never sell it, to the day I die, basically, because that's my instrument.
Yeah, that's a very special story, and sort of again tells us a little bit more about how you're wired. That pun was not intended. If you could buy anything in the world, digital, physical, surface, experience that's currently for sale, what would it be?
Well, what I would say is the things that I would want to buy are not yet for sale, but they will be on TuneFM, which is all about super high utility, exclusive experiences with artists. And so it would probably be something like spending a weekend in an exotic location with my favorite group of artists and having private shows or something, and something along those lines. But I'm definitely more interested in musical experiences and fun things with artists that I.
If you could hook me up with a private trip with Bono, I will be your best friend forever.
I will work on that. I will work on that. That's the type of stuff we're talking about. It's funny because music has a weird way of playing with your emotions, and everyone in the world loves music. That's something we all agree on, but everyone has their 1, 2, or 3 absolute diehard favorite artists in the world that they would do anything to have a relationship with, or spend some time with, or talk to, or even hang out with, or become their friend. And at the end of the day, like, those are the super high value, high ticket things that we're monetizing for super fans.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I'm sure it's going to keep evolving as that marketplace comes out. So that's going to be a cool one to keep on everybody's radar. If you could pass on one of your personality traits to the next generation, what would it be?
All my friends say that I'm super laid back and chill. And like, I don't necessarily I just feel normal, but apparently compared to most people, it's like way more chill. And I think the next generation probably needs a dose of chill, needs a chill pill. And maybe they could just, sit back and enjoy the process. And, when you look back on, having achieved things, you look back that the times of struggle will end up being the most beautiful part of the story. So everyone's just got to chill out and, let the process take its course.
Yeah, I like that. Very tense in a lot of ways, but the more people can relax, the more can get done and be more enjoyable. On the other side of that, if you could eliminate one of your characteristics for the next generation, what would it be?
I guess sometimes I want things to happen instantly. And it's kind of the opposite of what I was saying. And, I can see I have a vision for the future. But I guess biding my time and just not wanting things to happen quicker and not really caring about that is something I'm working
Nice.
on.
All right. Well, I think I know the answer here, Andrew, to both these questions, but what did you do just before joining us on the podcast?
Well, I was frantically sending out this funding announcement, the CoinDesk article, to like a few dozen people who needed to hear about it, and simultaneously getting ready for the podcast.
I had a feeling. And what are you going to do next after the podcast?
I'll probably continue telling everyone that I know who needs to hear about it, about the news, and maybe I'll eventually eat some dinner.
There you go, man. Well, one of those fun, exciting days where food doesn't become the focal point. Richard, do we have a bonus question today for Andrew?
We absolutely have a bonus question, especially after that beautiful message around everyone has that one artist that they want to be friends with. Andrew, who's your favorite artist of all time?
Oh, that's a really hard question. I'd have to say my favorite band still to this day is Portugal the Man. And I have met them backstage before. My recent favorite artist is Rufus Du Sol, and I've also met them. But I haven't met Michael Jackson, so maybe we'll get in touch with his spirit through this.
Throw some AI in there, and I think you could probably figure that out.
Actually, that's it's funny you say that. That's exactly what we're going to be doing with one of the songs. Is finishing the song through AI using Michael Jackson's actual voice to finish his song. So yeah, that's what I'm.
Wow. So much to unpack here. This was a really fun conversation. Really excited to keep following your journey, Andrew. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you and TuneFM?
Well, luckily enough, TuneFM, our name, is the domain. So you just plug in your browser, tune.fm, 4 letters. We have the best domain on the internet. And if you want to learn more about me, I'm sure you could go to my LinkedIn. But otherwise, definitely check out TuneFM, sign up, get your 1,000 jam for free for signing up. It's our gift to you. And just enjoy discovering some music, take a risk, listen to some band you never heard of, and you might fall in love with them.
Beautiful. And if you are a fan, excited about TuneFM and gonna sign up anyways, you may as well participate in the special giveaway that we're doing. Thanks for your generosity here, Andrew. I'll let you share the details of the grand prize.
Yeah, so we have a very special amount of jam in our community, and it's really it's because we have an exclusive private club called the Million Jam Whale Club. And it doesn't matter what the price, but if you're able to buy 1,000,000 jam or somehow win maybe 1,000,000 jam, you're granted exclusive access to this club. There's well over 100 members of the club, and it's by far the most entertaining and most vibrant crypto community on the internet. There's thousands of messages a day between these 100 members, just to give you an idea. And it's where all the action happens. So if you want all the exclusive alpha, all the inside scoop, you want access to me directly, you got to have 1,000,000 jam. You can join our public Telegram and ask the admin to let you in and prove your stake. But today we're happy to announce a special giveaway to one lucky winner, a 1,000,000 jam prize, which comes with access to the Million Jam Whale Club. And we're really excited about that and hope that somebody will win and be the lucky one to come into our club.
All right, there you have it. We're giving away 1,000,000 jam, which comes with all these alpha perks. So we'll announce the details for that contest soon, and folks will have a chance to not only listen to some new music, support the artists, but have a chance to win a very cool prize and hopefully get some long-term benefit from it. We have reached the utter limit at the Edge of NFT for today. Thanks for exploring with us. We've got space for more adventures on the Starship. So invite your friends and recruit some cool strangers that'll make this journey all so much better. How? Go to Spotify or iTunes right now, rate us and say something awesome. Then go to edgeofnft.com to dive further down the rabbit hole and subscribe to our newsletter, as well as our YouTube channel for all the latest shows, contests, and more Web3 updates. Look us up on all major social platforms by typing Edge of NFT with no spaces and start a fun conversation with us online. Lastly, be sure to tune in next time for more great NFT content. Thanks again for sharing this time with us today.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of NFT reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of those links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.